Good morning, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here. I love IPM and I love the people that love IPM, so I really do look forward to meeting some of you and hearing some of the other talks this week. I am calling in from Massachusetts in the USA, so this is why I am recording. It is actually 6 in the morning where I'm here, so I do hope you understand, but I will be here this afternoon to answer questions. So in this presentation, I'm going to be talking about Conserve and some of the exciting things we've been doing in the IPM front. We've been building out some software specifically for IPM for collections and also some databases that go alongside with the software. As a quick background, Conserve is a relatively new company based out of Alabama in the US that initially started with a focus in environmental monitoring. We've developed accurate, easy to set up wireless monitoring options that link up to our software, our cloud-based software developed specifically for collections professionals. Our two co-founders are Austin and Nathan. Austin is a data analyst and Nathan is a software and hardware engineer. Nathan's parents happen to be art conservators, which is how they learned about the need for better environmental monitoring tools in the preservation world. A big part of our mission is to increase access to better preservation tools, and because of that, we have committed to keeping a free version of our software available to any of you if you wish to use it. Our journey to include IPM in our software started in earnest in late 2020 after talking to many of our customers and software users and constantly hearing requests for IPM software. We started building the software in early 2021, and at this stage, we also began our conversations with Jane Henderson and Christian Bars about implementing the Pest Occurrence Index into the software. We formed a collaborative partnership with the Museum Pest Working Group and worked with them to transition their pest fact sheets and image libraries into a software-friendly, adaptable database using Airtable that we could integrate into our software to help with the pest identification process. In April this year, we hosted a large webinar to share our IPM software with the world and to invite people to start using the free version of it. From April through today, we have been doing one-on-one onboarding into the software for institutions to start using it. We now have well over 60 monthly active users with interacting with the IPM feature specifically, and about 2,300 IPM observations added overall. Given the relatively slow pace of IPM programs and the fact that most users only check their pest monitors about every 1 to 3 months, that represents actually a really good software adoption rate. In order to access our software, we are asking everyone to fill out a short questionnaire, and we're still collecting data on this, but of the 165 responses, 66% had an IPM program, and only 5% of them were using dedicated IPM software, while the remaining 95% were using Excel or paper or another form of manual data entry to record pest monitor identifications. We also learned that 77% of the respondents expressed frustrations with current IPM software, and most of these frustrations were in the efficiencies and actionable ways to respond to the data. So some of the examples of these responses were, we don't know what to do with the data, especially if there isn't an infestation. It's hard to collaborate as a team. We heard that people would like to be able to link their photographs to the data. And then we also heard that people would like for there to be ways to keep track of when they should remember to check and replace their pest monitors. So just some overall useful tools that people are looking for. So I'm going to just quickly share a recording within this recording of the software itself. Well, I'll just walk you around. So here you go. In order to use IPM within Conserve, you need to be on the Pest tab right here. And once you're in here, it will show that we're on this Pest Monitor view. And this is where we see the overall hierarchy for how we organize everything. And as you can see here, we have buildings, and then we have spaces within buildings, and then we can have pest monitors within those spaces. And if you need to add additional buildings or spaces or pest monitors, you can do so from here. So this is to add a building, space, pest monitor. And because we use the Pest Occurrence Index within the software to normalize the data, we do ask everybody to go into all of their spaces and indicate the square footage or square meter size of all of their spaces so that we can use that in the calculations when we do the analysis. And so when you are ready to add a pest monitor, this is what it looks like. You will create a name, you will indicate which space it's in, what type of pest monitor it is. You can actually type in another type if it's not listed here, and then where it's located, and you can add a picture as well if that's helpful to locate it and also to know exactly where to replace it when you're done doing your checks. So this view will also be helpful to indicate the last time you've checked the pest monitor within the software and the last time you've replaced it. But you do just have to tell the software that you were replacing it, and you can do so right here. So say they've been out for a couple months and it's time to check, or however long it takes between your checks, you will go into the Observe tab. And this is a bit of a two-step process. You have to create an observation first, and then you can assign identifications to that observation. So you can see in here, I do have a couple observations here listed as well in here, but I will show you how to create a new one. So add an observation. You will indicate which pest monitor you're looking at, on which date that you're looking at it, and any notes for yourself, and then you can also add an image as well. And so once you create that, you can do an identification. But I will just point out here that you'll notice that one of these observations doesn't have a specific pest monitor it's associated with. And this is an example of how we are able to capture errant data of, say, a pest that's, you find on a windowsill or isn't necessarily on a pest monitor itself. And you would just do that by clicking an observation and changing the scope to a space, and then indicating which space that you saw that insect. And I will also point out that you can create these observations in the web application, as I'm showing you here, and also within our mobile application as well. So if it's a bit easier to take out your cell phone, go around the galleries, take pictures, record information while you're out and about, you can do so with our app. So let's say we're ready to start doing identifications. We'll pop into here, and you'll see the image will be pretty large. You can zoom in if that's helpful. Obviously this isn't the best image, so hopefully you have some good notes or the original pest monitor in front of you to observe. And when you're ready to create an identification, you'd click in here, Add a Pest, and it will open this database that's managed by the Museum Pests Working Group. It's a database full of all the insects and vertebrates that this group considers to be a risk to collections. There's also some pests in here that are considered indicators of problems with the building, maybe moisture problems, that sort of thing as well. But it's not a comprehensive list of everything you're going to see, obviously. But we do have some ways to address that I'll show you in a bit. But just to show you, say I'm curious about this beetle here, and I can type in beetle, and I can actually misspell. It's got a really good search, and say it's an adult, so you only want to look at all of the adult beetles in the database. So this is our list of adult beetles within the database. And if there's multiple images of the same beetle, this little arrow will show here, so you can scroll and see those as well. So hopefully it's not one of these insects, and I know it's not a hide beetle, but hypothetically if it was, this is how I would click it. I would X out of here, and it would show up in here that I have identified an adult hide beetle, and you can change the quantity, and you can add additional pests this way. You can create comments for yourself, and then you can hit next, and it will take you to the next insect. So this is an example of an insect that's not in our database. Spiders aren't considered a risk to our collections, but some people do like to keep track of how many spiders they see. So we have two ways to do this. If you are using the free version of the software, you can indicate that you have seen an unknown incidental or an unknown pest. So you can just keep track of your overall number of insects that you have on your pest monitors, if that's helpful for you. So in this case, this would be an incidental. It's not a pest to our collections, and you could click that. And then you could change the quantity. The other way we can do it is through this new feature that we've added called Manage List. And this is, and if you are on the Essentials version, the paid version of our software, you can add new entries into the database. And we also had feedback from people that said that there are too many insects in the database, and it's a little overwhelming for their staff to look through all of this. So you do have the ability to go in here and deselect certain things from this if you don't want them to show up in the database. And so then we can jump into analysis. But because I've only entered one data point, it's not super exciting, so I did pull up an example of what some of the data can look like where you've entered a lot of it. This is the pest occurrence index, so you can compare all of your spaces and really get a sense of where you might want to focus your efforts for IPM based on what this normalized number is showing. We have pest occurrence by time, so this is just your overall pest occurrence. And then you can change a start and an end time as well. That's generally what we have so far, but maybe by the time you watch this, there'll be more. So we're just constantly changing. Appreciate your feedback. Since the release of the IPM software, we have been getting lots of feedback. Feedback comes from direct emails from our customers, during our onboarding calls, from social media, through the software itself, and in designated meetings with our users. We organize all of this in an app called Product Board that allows us to easily measure the quantity of requests we've received for individual features, which helps us to prioritize what we build next in the software. We heard from many people that they would like to be able to remove and add pests from the database to create a more personalized, dedicated database to simplify data entry. And this led to the development of our Manage List feature, which you just saw in the software overview. We designed this software to be easy for a novice user, but have realized through feedback that some features end up being cumbersome for expert users. So advanced users need to be able to do bulk entry and are less reliant on pest images and image zoom functions than novice users. There is also a common request to be able to enter IPM identifications directly through our mobile app. So you can do that while you're out and about walking through the spaces. And we are working to build out some features that would appease both of these groups of users. Some common features we are asked for include the ability to indicate a pest monitor that, that it has been checked, even if there are no new insects, a way to indicate a bulk replacement of pest monitors, and others have asked for the ability to set reminders. Users have been requesting the ability to separate the data along multiple dimensions to look at, for example, pest distribution by space, pests by type, and to be able to filter out irrelevant data. Finally, users are commonly asking for the ability to visualize IPM data overlaid on building floor plans. And so there's clearly a lot more work we can do in analytics. We're really just at the start of this. So what can we do moving into the future? What are some of our ideas? We would love for there to be a way for users to contribute their images to the Museum Pest database and build up, an even better library of pest images, which can also lead to the ability for us to utilize artificial intelligence that might help, some people with less experience in identification to create identifications of their pests. We'd love to implement floor plan data visualization analysis and, with the permission of our users and the anonymization of the data, we'd love to be able to start combining data sets within a big data structure so we can have a better understanding of pest activity globally and, how these efforts kind of all fit together. So, we're really an open book when it comes to ideas. We try to be really responsive. We love feedback. So please reach out if you have specific ideas. We'd love to implement them into the software. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for your time here today. I'd also like to thank the Museum Pest Working Group, specifically Rachel, Matt, and Pat, especially with their help in getting this database set up. There's also countless other people that we've spoken to at length about the software and have been, they've been so kind to give us their feedback. If you are interested in learning more about Conserve and our software, the website's at the bottom. It's conserve.io. Pretty much anywhere on the website where it says get started and you can type in your email address. If you just type it in, fill out the short survey, we'll get you set up to start using our free software if that's something you'd like to do. So thank you and take care.